Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to our webinar today, which is focused on a little training session on how to get registered with the Ciitizen Invitae platform that our organization has partnered with. I am Christine Salmi. I'm the president and co-founder of Coalition to Cure CHD2. And we are super excited to have Virginie McNair with Ciitizen Invitae here with us today. She's going to walk us through basically this very simple process of getting your loved one with CHD2 signed up for the Ciitizen Invitae platform. And before she does, I just wanted to say a few things about why it's important to register. Coalition to Cure CHD2 is about 1.5 years old now, and we have been working hard to reach out to scientists and researchers who are interested in researching CHD2 disorders. And the thing that we are constantly told that we need to have before we can get research underway for CHD2 is one, to have a natural history study. And that a natural history study basically is providing a picture to a researcher or scientist of what it's like to live with CHD2 over the years, the progression of the disease, as it goes from when your child is young until they into adulthood and older. So Ciitizen Invitae is here to help us create that natural history study. And the one important way to do that Ciitizen Invitae is offering is a way to collect all of your medical records for your CHD2 loved one. And once they've collected the medical records, they will be able to pull the data that's relevant to the researchers and scientists interested in studying our disease and help create that natural history study. So after today, I hope that you all will be inspired and that you will decide to register as soon as you can, because we do have a deadline coming up on June 3rd to try and get as many people signed up in this first wave of CHD2 patients, so that we can have the data ready for our researchers and scientists by the end of this year. So with that said, I will hand it over to Virginie and let her do her work. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Thanks for having me today. I can't see any of you, but I'm saying hi. I'm Virginie McNair, and I work with rare disease groups at Ciitizen Invitae. I also am the mom of a child that has SYNGAP, a rare disease. And before I joined Ciitizen Invitae, I joined Ciitizen as a parent. And I'll walk you through what that looks like, why it's important. Christine kind of explained a little bit what's a natural history study, but I'll share my slides first. And then we'll go into the actual sign up and what you'll need to join. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat. We have Stacy here who will moderate the chat, and she will let us know when there's any questions. So let me share my slides. All right. So as Kristen mentioned, what we're doing at Ciitizen is we're collecting data from your medical records to build a natural history study. And a natural history study is really to help researchers and pharma companies, anyone studying CHD2, understand how the disease affects your child and how it evolves over time. And so that gives, through the medical records, we're able to go and really understand all the different diagnoses that you have related to CHD2, the medication, all that information, and over the past years. So this is Ciitizen is a retrospective natural history study. So we start from the day you sign up, back to birth. So we're able to collect years and years of data in a really short time. And so like we said, it's important to understand how the disease affects you and your child, how it affects and how it changes over time. It's also important to select endpoints for clinical trials. As you know, when you're going to have, when companies are going to develop drugs, they're going to need to measure if the drug is working or not. And we need to be able to provide those clear measurements. I need to be able to say, what are we measuring? Are we measuring seizures? Are we measuring behaviors? Are we measuring cognition? what are the things we can measure? And they look at the medical records and a natural history study to understand what are those things that we can measure? What is something that is clear across the community that we can say, yes, that treatment is working? Then it's also, as companies are looking at clinical trial planning, they're looking at how the patient's affected and how can they design a trial that will be feasible for the community. So it's in terms of, can patients travel far away? Can they, is it, how do we administer the treatment, that kind of thing? And so getting that information from the natural history study is very important, because you don't want a clinical trial to be designed completely off of what is possible for the community. It really needs to be able to be doable and matching what your community can sustain. And then it speeds up time to get to treatment. So like we say, a natural history study is very important. But if you said the traditional ones, if you start today, it's going to take years to build, because like every year you're going to have to go see the doctors, see the clinical sites where they're going to get all kinds of tests. And then it's going to take several years to be able to get the information you need to understand the disease and how it changes over time. With the digital natural history study, you don't have, we're shortening that time, because we're going and we're using everything that you've done so far. So all the visits, all the doctor's visits you've had so far, all the EEGs, all the inpatient hospital stay, we are able to gather that information and use it for the natural history study. So this slide just kind of go over a little bit what I was just saying. A traditional natural history study, most patients have to travel to a specific site, and you go through a bunch of tests over a period of a few days, and then you have to go back every year or every 6 months, depending on how often they want to collect information. And usually you do not have access to the data that is collected. And that's something that at Ciitizen we wanted to change. We wanted to give back to the families. You're participating, you sharing a lot of information with us, and it's important for us to share back to you. And I will say, as a mom of a rare child, I really love that process, because not only I had access to my medical records now, which I did not before. And if any of you have tried already to go and collect records for your child, it's time consuming and expensive. With Ciitizen, it was free, and they just showed up on my portal, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then I was able to get the summary. So everything that was extracted and that they found in the records, it was sent to me in a very nice summary in chronological order. And I'll show you what that looks like. But that's really how Ciitizen is different. Now, if at some point, I'm not saying Ciitizen is replacing traditional natural history studies. We have several groups, several diseases that have in-person natural history study. And they continue to participate. We're just providing a richer data set in a short time. That's what we do. And so those studies complement each other. Sorry, moving on. All right, so I'll go quickly on this one, because I think we touched a little bit over this already. So we were able to collect medical records on behalf of you guys, of the patients and the parents. And for that, we will require for you guys to upload the driver's license and your child's birth certificate, death certificate if you've lost your child, or guardianship paper if you have a child that is over 18 at this point. So we collect the medical records on your behalf, and they will be visible to you. This is at no cost to the patient or the organization. And then, like I said, you have full access, and you can share those records with whoever you want from your portal. And the whole process, the whole sign-up process takes about 10 minutes if you have all the paperwork. That's the key. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I think Joshua is raising his hand. Do we want to take a question? Hello? I think you can speak now.
Joshua?
Yeah. Alex, I think you can.
You're on mute. Or you can type your question in the chat.
Yeah.
Or you might just be saying hi.
For saying hi. All right, I'll keep going, and if you can unmute yourself at some point, you feel free to interrupt me. So how does it work? We'll show you. You'll get to the page, which is ciitizen.com/CHD2. You'll go through the consent process. So there's going to be 2 consents, one for research and one with the sharing your information with the advocacy group. And then it will ask, you'll have a bunch of questions that are easy to answer, your diagnosis, your child's last name, child's information, date of birth, etc. And then we'll ask you to list the institutions and the doctors that your child has seen that related to CHD2 so that we can go and collect the records. Then you'll go in and upload your driver's license. We have a facial quick check to make sure you're not a robot, and then upload the birth certificate. Once all that process is done, and like I said, it's like about 10 minutes. That would be a long process if it was 10 days, 10 minutes. And then our team will go and collect records on your behalf. Sometime you will get a call from the hospital saying, are you asking, is it okay if we share the information with Ciitizen? Just say yes, and they will send us all of your records. Then we go through triage to make sure that there's no gap, that you haven't forgotten one doctor and that happens. If you have, our team will reach out to you and say, we're not seeing any neurologist information from, 2015 and 2018, for example. Then we'll go back out and collect those records. Once we have all the records, we process them through machine learning that will start extracting data. And then it goes through 3 human annotators. And I will show you what they do. I think they do the magic work, but it's not magic. It's really time consuming, but they're literally going to read every single line of your medical records and extract the data, code it, so that then it's usable for researchers and everything is well organized. And then we have a nice spreadsheet at the end that is de-identified with all of the data that we share with researchers. So we do not share your raw medical records with researchers, only the extracted data. And we do not share any contact information or name or anything that could identify the patient to the researchers and pharma companies. We only share the de-identified information. And I will show you what that looks like. So this is an example of what we do in medical records. So that obviously a small extract. Most of you probably have thousands of pages of medical records. That was the case for my son, and he's only 7. And so we go in and where we get the most information is on the clinician notes, which a lot of us don't have access through our regular hospital portal. So we get that information. And as you can see, this example, hypotonia, it could be described by many people in different ways. So in this case, the doctor mentioned decreased tone throughout. And so our team flagged that as generalized hypotonia and assigned the SNOMED code, which is a universal code associated with that diagnosis. So this is the process. And it takes from about the time you're on board to the time we are able to deliver the data about 6 months, because we're going through all that process of going through all the pages of the records several times. Our goal is to produce FDA quality grade data so that when researchers or pharma companies are ready to go through the FDA, the data and the provenance is not is at the necessary quality. I touched a little bit about that earlier, talking about how Ciitizen complements other data sets. And we talked about in-person natural history study, but in your case, I know you're working with RareX for patient-reported outcomes. And so the difference between the two is that Ciitizen, we're getting information and data from your doctor's notes, from the hospital, say from the medical records. The RareX is your experience, your voice. And the two are really important. And we partner with RareX as well. So we are able to match the data that you have with RareX with the data you have in Ciitizen. So when researchers access both data sets, they don't know the name, but they know patient A in RareX equal patient A in Ciitizen. And so that gives them the point of view from the medical records and then your experience. One that I feel like is always easy to understand is seizures. So your doctor is going to have on your medical records, you're going to have the information on what's in the EEG reports, on maybe what you've shared with your doctor, but it's usually fairly limited. You know how many seizures your child has every day. You know, the bad episode, the good episodes, and all of those are not necessarily going to be in the medical records because you're not calling your doctor at the end of every day to let them know, hey, today was a good day. We had 20 seizures. So that's where patient reported outcome is really important. And that's what RareX is for. So if you can, participating in both would be ideal. And Christine, I don't know if there's anything you want to say about that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I can talk more about my experience when I signed up, if you'd like me to now. I don't want to interrupt your flow.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, all Virginia talked about having to get your driver's license and birth certificate. I mean, that's probably the hardest part for me and for you. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to establish an account, and you're going to verify that you are real. And if you are a parent or guardian, verify that you're signing up for your child. You'll go through the consent process of just learning what this process is about and consenting to have your de-identified data shared. And then you just have to list the names of your providers, your medical providers. And a lot of times you just have to type in their first name and last name, and all the information is already in the database by Ciitizen's Invitae. And you just click, yes, that's our provider. And so from that point, all the work is done from Ciitizen's Invitae thereafter. They're going to do the contacting with your doctors and getting the medical records. So it was super, super easy. And yeah, we're here to answer questions as you're going through the process. But yeah, it was extremely easy. And I'll talk more about maybe the RareX platform at the end as well too, just like you did, Virginia, and explain where people can go to get registered.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we jump into that, as you said, it takes about 10 minutes once you have the information. Now, quick tip, if you want to sign up today and you don't know where your birth certificate is at, it's okay. Just upload a random picture, and it will let you go through. And because our team will go in and verify and look, oh, that's not the birth certificate. It is a picture of your child, or anything you want to upload, really. That way you complete your full registration, and then it gives you time to go and find the birth certificate, and then just send it to us or upload it directly on your portal. That's easy to do too, but because that's the hurdle, is finding that birth certificate. That's the comment that we hear from most families. So if you had your computer right now and you just want to do it, go ahead. And then you can come back later, and our team will follow up with you anyway if we realize that you did not upload an actual birth certificate. But just to quickly summarize why it's important and the benefits to you guys as caregivers is, number one, of all the asks that we have as rare families of participating in so many studies, whether it's in person or filling out surveys or whatever it is, this should be really the easiest of all. It takes really 10 minutes, and it's a fairly smooth process. If you run into any issue, we have a team that is there to do one-on-one with you and guide you through the process. But really, it's not hard to do. And the one thing that I know I appreciated, I got tired of filling out surveys. I'm not saying you shouldn't fill out surveys, those are important. But I remember being tired of saying, my kid can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. And just like pointing out the really negative thing, not the negative, but the just reminding you how behind and, you know, all of the things that are wrong with your child. Versus on this, it was fairly positive experience. It was just signing up, and none of those questions were in the sign up process. And then I was able to start seeing the records when you're going to get an email and you know, your records are on your portal. That's exciting. And I remember spending a chunk of time reading through those records and finding things that the doctors really never told me. So those are their notes. Those are not the things that they say to you or that you see on your portal. Those are the actual notes. And it's fascinating. So that was for me a better experience overall than other platform. And I have shared my son's medical records with multiple providers already, whether it was for a second opinion or I was going to I wanted to participate in a study and I didn't want to do a repeat EEG or whatever it was. And I just sent them the medical records and they were able to see all the information without me going through the whole thing again. I mean, I have the history pretty much down, but I got to a point where I was just tired of saying it over and over again. And now I have a full summary that just speaks for itself. I don't need to do the talking.
I'll also say it's also helpful. I have a daughter who just turned 19. It's helpful if you're transitioning from pediatric care to adult care. Yep. And they're asking for those records. You don't have to go to 10 different places to get it and make sure that it's been forwarded. It's all going to be in one place once you're in the Ciitizen study, and it's going to be at the click of a button to pass that along to the new adult care providers.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is hospitals are only required to keep records for 10 years. So that's something that I did not know before. I just assumed they would be there forever, and that's not the case. And we have a lot of information on those medical records that I did not realize could be lost if I didn't have a way to retrieve them. So regardless whether you want to participate on Ciitizen or you decide that's not for you, I do recommend going through and getting your medical records and have a copy of those. Obviously, if you go through Ciitizen, we can get that for you. We can get it on your behalf. Another thing that is not mentioned on this slide is through your study, once you complete your onboarding and you're fully registered, you will receive a $100 gift card for your participation. It will take a few weeks, so don't expect it right away, but it will come, and that's if you're all the way through. And that's a $100 gift card, which we love giving back that way also to the families. All right, so I'm going to jump off a little bit here, and we'll show you what the dashboard looks like. So that's my son's dashboard. So after I registered and I have all of his hospitals and doctors and genetic testing company, and here are all the records. If I open each one of those, it's going to be hundreds of pages of it. There's some here that I've uploaded myself that might not go through the extraction process, but I like to, it's kind of like now my storage for anything related to his health or even his therapy. So here I have like therapy notes that I uploaded. We don't extract information from therapy notes, but they're there. And you can share, if you hear, you can share with just one provider or multiple. It's just kind of up to you if you share everything or just one document. So that is yours. And again, you will start getting those records as it takes about 30 days to get them. And then as you go, so I signed up 2 years ago. And I can go in and request and update my records. So every time I go see the neurologist, I make sure I go in here, put a new request, and then our team will go in and get the updated records. So everything is always up to date. So that's what you get right away as soon as the medical records come in. Then you get this summary. So this one will take a few months, like I said, about 6 months to get it. So once the data is all ready, I think for you, the schedule is to be ready in December. If everyone onboards by June 3rd, so that's why it's important to sign up before that date, because everyone that signs up after will have to schedule another date. But by June 3rd, if you sign up by June 3rd, you will have your summary in December, and your data will be ready for researchers. So this is my son's summary, and it's in chronological order. So at first it's the diagnosis, and then we go back down to from birth all the way to 2 years ago. And it just gives all the information that was extracted on the medical records that will be shared with researchers. One thing that I will point out here is, so here, if you see March 8th, my son was diagnosed with autism. That was never communicated with me. And last year, I spent several weeks and months trying to get him that diagnosis when it was already in the medical records. So, and we found a lot of families looking at that, learning things that was never shared with them. And some of them used it to accelerate insurance, to get to a specific drug instead of going through that kind of like the steps, because the mom was like, I know we've already gone through it. And she was able to pinpoint exactly when from that summary. So really helpful. I think Alex Joshua is trying to, no? Okay, I see the hand raising. Okay. If you are, just type your question and we'll be good to go. So anyway, so that's what you get as a parent. And then this is, this is what we are sharing with researchers. So that's that's an example of another disease. And you can see there's no information besides the UID. So this is, we're not sharing your private information. And then these are all the different things that we are collecting. So the primary diagnosis, genetic findings, clinical diagnosis. This is one that, this is only 3 people, right? And if you look, you can start really seeing the massive amount of information on just 3 patients. So the goal here is to recruit 50 patients and to really understand what are the most common diagnoses, seizure, autism, like whatever it is in your community, we'll be able to get a really better understanding of what that looks like. And then growth parameters, so that's like tracking growth. Exam finding, this is fascinating too. If you look at the amount of information that is reported mainly from neurology notes, that is a lot of information, right? Again, this is just 3 patients. And if you are like me, you're like, yeah, that sounds about right. Seizure history, same thing. That's where I was telling you, this is where I think it's important to have patient-reported outcome and for you to give a better picture of the seizure, because that's much shorter, right? This is probably not as representative of what's really happening in the day-to-day life, because this is from the medical records. So I'm not going to go over all of the information. I think, what I like to look at too is medication. That's helpful to understand. So if you are in the group of, you've kind of lost hope for treatments, or you feel like you found your, or you don't want treatment, we've seen that in several communities as well. That's okay. Participating in Ciitizen will still help the day-to-day care. So without creating a specific treatment for your child, we can still get really good information for the other children as well coming up, in terms of what are the most used anti-epilepsy drugs? Which ones have side effects? Which ones do not? And just getting that better understanding for the care plan is really, really helpful. So if you are nervous about research, this is not the only reason we can use that data for. So I'm going to stop. Actually, I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to show you where to go to sign up, and then I'll take questions. So if you're ready to sign up, you will go to Ciitizen, CIITIZEN.com/CHD2. That will take you to that page. And you should see it, there's your information here, and then you just click on join today. And it will take you, and it's a step-by-step process. I'm going to do the first couple of pages, and then we'll stop and take questions. But so the first is right now we're taking only patients that have English medical records, and we can only collect records in the US. So if you are attending and you're not in the US, you can send a note to Christine, and we'll walk you through the international way, but we cannot collect your records on your behalf outside of the country. And the first one is the Ciitizen, it's the consent, it's their Ciitizen Research Data Bank, and that allows us, it's giving us consent to share your information with researchers, de-identify information with researchers. So I'm going to do test 5. Okay. Then you move on, and that's sharing your information with the Coalition to Cure CHD2. And here we share your contact information with the group, and that allows them to reach out to you if there's different opportunities, or just simply to be able to keep you up to date on what is going on. And I don't know, Christine, if there's anything you want to share here on the value of sharing information with you guys.
Yes, thank you, Virginie. Yes, as far as I know, Coalition to Cure CHD2 is the only nonprofit organized organization focused on CHD2 research. From that speaks with the patient voice. So our board is made up of all volunteer parents with children with CHD2 or loved ones with CHD2 variants. And we are the ones that are kind of like the hub where people come to when they're trying to find out, one, how many patients are diagnosed with CHD2 variants, where do they live, how can we contact them, or kind of that primary contact place. So we have a website, we have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, we're on all the social media channels. So it's if you can share, and again, this is de-identified information, obviously, but that helps us when we're talking with pharmaceutical companies and researchers who are interested in research to know who makes up our community as a whole. Thank you.
So I work with many groups in the rare disease space, and I will say you guys are lucky. You have a wonderful team leading this advocacy group. They're dedicated and organized and really checking all of the boxes that need to be checked to make sure there is going to be treatment for your child at some point. And it's refreshing and it's exciting. I love working with them. Anyway, just wanted to give my little input on.
Thank you, and we love working with you.
Thanks. And another thing that's important to note, we also talk a lot with pharma companies. And at the end of the day, I know in some communities, pharma don't have the best reputation. But at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to produce the treatment and commercialize the treatment, right? So it's important to work with them and it's important to attract them. And a lot of times when companies come to us, they ask us, how many patients do you have? It's all about numbers. Because, it's like, number one, we are at the early stage of understanding the disease. And so the more people we have, the better understanding we will get. And then as you get through the process, their goal is looking at, okay, if we go to clinical trial, are we able to go, are we going to be able to recruit those patients? And that's why we work closely with the advocacy groups. And then when you join Ciitizen, you will get the first email when, if you meet the criteria for clinical trials. So that's kind of like the process is sending good signal that your community is ready and has checked all the boxes to move to the next level. And once you move to the next level, it's a whole different roller coaster, but you need to get there. So then once you do this, we ask you a couple of questions. I'm going back to the sign up process. I'm sorry. I realized I just jumped a little quickly. So you've done the 2 consents. Then we're asking you information about your genetic reports. This is what we're going to verify the diagnosis. So that's kind of like the main piece of information that we will collect and verify that your child does in fact CHD2. If you are not sure if there's a VUS or whatever it is, still sign up and our team will be able to look at it. We're part of Invitae, so we have a wonderful team of lots of genetic counselor and everything that are able to study your genetic report. So you'll sign up and you'll just fill out information. If you don't know, it's okay. We'll still hunt down your genetic report. And if you don't have it, shame on your doctor, to be honest, because every single patient should have a copy of their genetic report. And you should have received an explanation of what that means. But if you don't, we'll be able to get it for you and you'll be able to access it on the platform as well. So I'm just going to say no to here because I'm just for the sake of it. And then click on submit. So at that point, you've done the consent and you started the process, but you don't have an account yet. So this is where we're creating the account and it's going to take you to the Ciitizen platform. Sorry, it's not liking me the share screen. And then you're going to start the onboarding process. I'm logged in already, so it's not liking me. But this is really where you're going to start getting the information. So enter your child's information, date of birth, diagnosis, and list the institution. So that's kind of like the process, the flow that it's going to take you through. I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions because we talked for a while, a lot of information. Do you have any questions in the chat?
No, not at this time. So if you have any questions, feel free to enter them to the chat. There's been a few questions around when can they join the study, which is right now.
Right now?
When would you get the gift card? It's after you complete your profile and everything is uploaded that you need to put in. And then there was a question of where to actually log in, and that is at ciitizen.com/CHD2. There also is a link from the advocacy that site as well that Christine can share that URL again in the link.
Yeah, so if you want to join, it's open today. Again, the idea is to sign up as many people as we can before June 3rd, so we can have a really nice cohort. I know there's already some interest in that information from researchers and pharma companies, so that's exciting. So show that, and there's no limit. So if 100 of you sign up, that's great to sign up. There's no 50 is kind of our goal. But if we go over 50, this is amazing. So yes, to sign up is Ciitizen/CHD2. And then if you had started a process and never finished, you will log in. And so the login is app.ciitizen.com. And that will take you to your dashboard, which again, I'm logged in. So that's my son's dashboard. And you can upload documents there, you can review information. And if you're stuck at any point, you can reach out to Mikkel, and Stacy is going to, or Justin, I'm sorry. Stacy is going to put Justin's information in the chat as well. She did it already, amazing. I don't see the chat, so. But yeah, and then the gift card again is once you've finished everything and you're fully complete. So if you start seeing your records come in, that's a good sign that you've completed everything and we are able to collect records on your behalf. And that will qualify you for the gift card that you will get in a few weeks after that. Trying to see if there's any other questions. No question at a time. Okay. All right. Christine, is there anything else you'd like to share with the families?
No, I really do think this is very helpful to walk through. And again, there's the information in the chat, how to get somebody who can help you walk through this with you one-on-one, and that's Justin. So make sure you look at that information in the chat, write it down, because these guys, Ciitizens, are fantastic folks who will help you in every step of the way. So don't be afraid to use it.
Yeah, you can get on the phone with Justin. Justin is great. And yeah, he'll walk you through all the steps and help you answer your questions. All right. If there's no question, I think we can wrap it up and give everybody 15 minutes of their time.
Yeah, so I wanted to at the end speak to about how Coalition to Cure CHD2 is working both with Ciitizens and Invitae on this platform. And then Virginia talked about it earlier, but we're also working with another organization, RareX, and they provide a similar data set for researchers, which focuses on the patient voice or the caregiver voice. So please, when you have time, go check out our website at www.curechd2.org, and you'll see a sign in for RareX as well as Ciitizens to help with CHD2 research. I mean, this is what we really need to get the ball moving. I appreciate everybody's time today.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. If we don't have any more questions, we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I think we get to wrap up.
Okay, fantastic.
Let me pause, stop recording.
Thank you, everyone.